Hey everyone, welcome back to GTM Secrets. Everything about go-to-market, sales, marketing, RevOps, you name it. We have people of all types. Today's interesting. We have Joshua Smith here. We're going to be talking about conversational AI, personal branding. He's a top digital marketing voice on LinkedIn. Lots of good stuff here, but I don't want to butcher your own background. So Joshua, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Really appreciate you having me on the show. So I've been involved in enterprise marketing, specifically B2B marketing, for quite a while now. About 13 years in B2B marketing, and I've got about 16 years of experience in general marketing. During that time, I have been able to work for some really big, well, I say really big, but mid-sized companies, one of them being IX Systems and another one being Inventa, both technology companies that are centered around software as a service. So that's kind of where my focus is, but I do have a lot of tactical knowledge across all kinds of different digital marketing, business to business tactics. So that's really what I'm passionate about, that and also artificial intelligence. So you see me post all the time on LinkedIn, I'm sure, about that kind of stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So, of course, just being selfish here, I want to learn about how you got the top voice on LinkedIn. But before we get there, I want to talk about AI as practically and tactically as we can. You know, when I hear AI in marketing, I immediately go towards content marketing and BS. You know, we were talking about BS AI posts or blogs or whatever. And, you know, that's great, fine, but there's a billion tools that do that. I think what's more interesting, you mentioned conversational AI. Now, in my head, two things come to mind. One is go use Intercom as a quick chatbot and be done. Or you can go the enterprise route and go use a tool like Salesforce, where it's super complex, requires a ton of data, etc. But one seems a little too easy and maybe a little cheesy and been done over and over. And the Salesforce side or enterprise side, I'm just using them as an example, seems very out of reach. No, you're not big enough for budget, for content, whatever. How have you used conversational AI specifically in B2B marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's actually a couple of different ways that I think it's very useful. You can, like you said, go with the bigger enterprise tools. Those are great. Sure, they work. But the problem is they're not exactly accessible for smaller businesses, scaling businesses, startups, things like that. One of the ways that I've kind of gotten around it myself personally is that there's all kinds of different website frameworks you can use now to pull conversational AI into your website and into your workflows, which is really, really good.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, a good example is say that somebody comes to your website, and typically everybody's seen those bad chatbot experiences where it's just a very generic chatbot. It'll pop up and say, "Thanks for coming to the website." These types of chatbots, these new types of chatbots that you're seeing, we call them more virtual assistants these days because they're so much more capable. They will actually engage a customer for you. They will strike up a conversation with them, and it's very, very fluent. We're talking about accuracy that's beyond human accuracy, typically over 95%, which is pretty incredible. So they can handle that. Then if the person says, okay, well, I'm not getting what I want, I want to talk to somebody else, that chatbot escalates them to a live person. And so what you're doing is you have this virtual assistant who's handling these customers as they come into your website, and then as they need, say they want to sign up for something, then they escalate it to a person and they can actually bring them in. So that's just one case.
So it's not new that you can have AI answer questions to a certain degree, but I'm curious on your take, and if you can even name tools that you like or have had a good experience with, awesome. If not, no worries. But it's about how you make that person feel that they're chatting with, right? So
Absolutely.
95% accuracy, that's great. But if it feels clunky or it feels like you're talking to a robot, that person's clicking off and giving you the middle finger.
Yes.
How have you seen the smoothness or the human-like conversation evolve? Do you feel like it's good enough at this point? Are there cases where you like it versus don't like it? I mean, I'm leaving it wide open, but I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question because I agree with you. The last thing anyone wants is to get on a website and engage with a chatbot and it's just a
Right.
disingenuous experience.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. So one of the really cool things about Invent, while I worked there, they have this really incredible way of engaging people in its human-like conversation. That's a big thing that they talk about. The way that it's done is it is specifically trained on like human behavior, on how the question should be answered. It takes into account the company's voice. So you can actually upload documents from your company. You can upload like all of your documentation. It's going to take that, it's going to speak in your brand voice and deliver a very human like experience. Uh, these tools can be supplemented with generative AI now. That's something that's been emerging for the last few months. But when you combine these two unique technologies, just the conversational AI and the Gen AI, that's what's really boosting the accuracy to be very high, and not only accurate, to be very human-like. It's able to emulate those behaviors and really make people feel very comfortable as if they were talking to a human.
Are there cases where you like chatbots versus not? And I'll preface that with saying, look, if I'm on a consumer site, like, do I want to talk to my Verizon rep or customer service? Heck no. So I'll take the chatbot all day long, or, my B
Yeah,
of A or whatever. In B2B though, I typically hate chatbots.
yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you're doing them right. So I don't want to just, knock all chatbots out, but are there specific segments, niches, et cetera, that you've seen chatbots work better, not work, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think what you just said is absolutely spot on, because too many times people look at chat bots or voice bots or virtual assistants and they say, okay, this is all you need. And you can't just sell it as a complete solution. There's so much more to it. There's nuance to it. You have to have people involved in the process, because if you're just farming out leads that have an average deal size of $50,000, $60,000 to a chatbot, you're shooting yourself in the foot for sure.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that those are being handled with the importance and carefulness that they deserve. So I think that it certainly has a place, but the chatbot should almost be like the first line of defense, if you will, or the
Yep.
first point of contact. And then once a person's qualified, then it can get passed over to a human. But yeah, certainly don't. I think companies too often over rely on this technology. Some of them do, anyways. A lot of people are still approaching it with trepidation. They're a little bit worried about putting this into their B2B marketing stack and really giving it access to all of their data, and for good reason. But that's really what I'm getting at, is that there's a place for it. And I don't think you should just give it access to everything. I don't think that it should be handling the entire customer process.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that if you tried to use it as a first line of defense to be instantaneous help, that's good. If you're using it to say, I don't want my team talking to anybody, you're an
Yeah,
idiot, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. Yeah,
I think that is the worst thing in the world. And everyone, just not trying to go off on a tangent here, but everyone wants to focus on scalability and never about profitability, conversions, et cetera. So just how many people can we talk to? I think that's absolutely asinine. So let me give you a case though. So if I am, identity matrix, okay, my company, we have intercom. Now it's rules based. We don't have enough documentation and whatnot to make it AI and so forth right now. And I'd love to get into that in a minute. But if I am we could use a chatbot because we're dealing with, high volumes of marketers bringing on lots of people, et cetera. If I'm selling something enterprise, I would find it very hard to use a chatbot to try to have a qualitative conversation with a CXO.
yes.
Have you seen it work well in enterprise sales?
I have not seen it work for handling those types of engagements personally. I've not seen that. I think that the types of engagements in sales and marketing that you should be looking to have when it comes to conversational I think that you need to make sure it is that first line of defense. Now, there are instances where it works extremely well, but you're talking about like for customer service. For
Yeah.
customer service, eliminating, I hate using that word because I don't think that we should be eliminating jobs with AI. I think we should be supplementing them. But a lot of these AIs that are out there now are able to handle a lot of the tier one engagements for customer support. And so that's something, we have to consider as well. It's better in different industries, and it's better engaging with different types of people like consumers. But when it comes to actually engaging CXOs, like you're saying, I don't think we're there yet.
How do you feel about tools? One is called Video Ask by Typeform. Do you know what that is?
I don't know that one specifically now.
So, and there's another one. The name's escaping me. So, Typeform's Video Ask is where it asks you questions in the form of a video. You click a button with your answer, and then it shows another video. And it's just a branch of videos, but it feels like, there's a person, it's humanizing it. And then there's other chatbots, and gosh, the name's escaping me, where you click the button and it literally starts a in-browser video chat with a person. Now, we're talking about not so much just AI chat, right? We're talking about different forms of chatbots. But have you seen any of those more elaborate types of chatbots work? Do you like the just traditional text? Have you messed around with those, et cetera?
Yeah, definitely. So I spent a decent amount of time this year working for Inventa, and so I can speak to them and how their chatbot works a little bit here. They actually have one of these. They have a chatbot and virtual assistants that can escalate all the way through the channel. So whether it comes in as a text, it can escalate to a call. It can escalate into a video call like you're talking about. So there's all these different channels that things can come from and be ingested from, and then it can be escalated to the right person, however the person wants to engage. If that person decides at some point, okay, well, we should do a call, a phone call, or we should do a video call, they can. Um, as far as the effectiveness, I think it is much more effective when you're trying to troubleshoot a difficult problem or you're trying to have a difficult sales conversation to have that human element, you know. So when you get the person to that voice or that video point, I think that that's absolutely where the best discussion is going to be happening, where the real meat of it's going to take place. The chat's great for that initial ingestion, but yeah, again, I just don't. I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of deep conversation there. It's not as fluent as video or voice, and it just doesn't flow as quickly. Yeah.
How much data and in what format do you need for an AI chatbot to work? So I'll give you the example. Again, I think Identity Matrix is a good use case for a chatbot. However, we're a startup.
Hmm.
Documentation, that's funny. We have a very small help desk portal, and we need to expand that. We have marketing collateral, of course, but it's desperate or disparate marketing sources, like some of it's social, some of it's blogs, etc. How much data do you need, and what format should it be in to be able to say, okay, I'm flipping on AI?
Hmm. It's actually getting easier than ever right now, with kind of the invention of these virtual assistants. Traditional chatbots didn't have this capability where they could uh, ingest large amounts of data from all these different sources. It came out where you could say, okay, well, we can pull from a couple different sources. That's okay. And it's kind of evolved over the last 2, 3 years where it can go out on your behalf beyond what you have. Don't have documentation? That's okay. It's going to go out and automatically scrape from your website, from any videos you've done, from any content it can find. It's going to take those transcripts of the videos you've done. It's going to pull all of that in, and it's going to be able to pull from that to give an answer. And the answers are extremely accurate in this day and age. It can be anywhere from 90% up to 99% in some instances. So even if you don't have that fundamental basis of where you feel like you have that amount of support documentation, you don't have enough marketing collateral to really tell people about your offering, you can actually bring AI in right now and get one of these services where it's like you just pay for what you use. So even if you're a smaller business, there's still probably a enterprise quote unquote chatbot you could use or virtual assistant you could use. Yeah.
Are there any let's take Inventa out of it because you're going to be
Sure.
biased one way or the other, good or bad. Are there any specific AI chatbot tools that you like and can name?
Yeah, there's actually a number of them. So if we're talking about platforms, there's a number of different ones that a person could go with. There's like Core AI in the space. There's Amelia. There is, I can't remember the other one. The other one's escaping me, but there's another one that's pretty big. Maybe it'll come to me in a minute. But all of these are different platforms you can go to, and you can build out a virtual assistant. So they're all kind of built to be a really easy way for people to do it. There are
Mhm.
more difficult ways to do it. To give you an example, I built out a chatbot experience by hand on my website. I have a website called Right Things AI where I just kind of integrate different AI technology and test it out. It's really just for me. But I integrated a chatbot into that, and it was very difficult to do. It required a good amount of coding. It's not nearly as feature complete as you would see with these conversational AI platforms. And so that's kind of the benefit. If it's done for you, it's going to make your life a lot easier than you having to go out and program it yourself and all that good stuff. It can be done. It's just not very easy.
I think unless you're an enterprise, you're not going to go build it yourself. Even the
Right.
mid-market companies that I work with, everyone is under resource, understaffed, under budget. I mean,
Hmm.
you get the drill with few exceptions. Let's switch gears a little bit. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, you worked in two very competitive spaces, right? You were doing, my understanding of IX systems is that it was open source hardware or storage
Hmm.
specifically.
Hmm.
And then you're talking about chatbots.
Hmm.
Now you ran marketing for both. How did you grab attention for such noisy, BS ridden industries? There's some great companies in both. I'm not calling the industry BS, but the BS and noise and crap out there. How did you start generating demand and actually grabbing any form of market share?
Yeah, that's a great question because you're right. There's so many big names out there, and I'll just use IX Systems as an example because IX Systems was going up against some incredible juggernauts in the industry. You're talking about Dell, you're talking about HPE,
Yep.
NetApp, these huge companies that have insane marketing budgets. So if you're just trying to go and bid on keywords, you're going to get buried. These
Yep.
guys have the money to just own it. So what we did was we tried a community first strategy. We weren't exactly sure if it was going to work at first, and I was still young in my career, but we built out a community using the Zen4 forum software, which is really great. Really love that. And I administrated that for a while, just was very involved with the community. And what we started to find is we went from about 10,000 people who were visiting every month. It started to go up. It starts to go to 50,000 people are visiting every month. Go a couple more years, eventually we have 250,000 people every single month that are coming and visiting the IX Systems community.
Let me pause you there for just
Yeah.
1 second. Now, was it because your posts in the forum and whatnot were just that great and there were that many people in the forum? Or was it that your website was picking up organic search volume from all the backlinks, the comments, etc., or a mix of both?
So it's kind of a mix of both. The
Okay.
product itself is what I would say really made the difference. The product was so good that people wanted to get out there and they wanted to discuss it. But it was also extremely complex. So they knew that they needed to go find answers for very complex things that they want to do with this open source software. So that's what would happen is this forum would capture a huge amount of SEO because there's just tens of thousands of posts on there of questions that people have answered. So it was just a treasure trove of SEO value when you're just talking about every single question being asked is becoming like a beacon on the internet and people are coming in and seeing the same question.
Also, the more technical it is, the easier it is to start ranking for very niche technical
Boom.
keywords.
Yeah, exactly. That's
That makes
exactly
sense.
right. Yeah, so that's what happened, man, and it just really started blowing up. I think it was a mix of also just being very involved with the community. We made it fun, which no one else in the enterprise storage space was doing. They
How?
all, well, okay, so just to give you an example, a lot of enterprise storage companies just have this mode or this um, personality is not the right word, but the way they present themselves is just boring and stuffy. And so to
Yeah.
give you a good
No one
example,
thinks of Dell and HPE as fun.
Nobody does, right? But just to give you an example, like when it was April Fool's Day, every time it was April Fool's Day, I'd play a joke on the community. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And they dug it, man. This is just one little example, but I don't know if they'd like me to talk about this, but I'm going to do it anyways because I think it's absolutely hilarious. But our community they could get a little bit fiery with each other sometimes. They could, get in each other's faces. You'd have arguments over different types of computer memory. And so to keep these folks grounded, I said, well, for this year's April Fool's joke, this was 2016, I think. I said I'm going to completely change the community to My Little Pony for a day, and so I did. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny, and people thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. But we did silly things like that no big company would ever do because they
No.
take themselves way too seriously, and they're afraid. They're afraid that if they actually have fun and they speak to people in a way that's fun, that they're somehow being shown as unprofessional and stuff like that. We just owned it. We said, hey, we are not the most professional, but we guarantee you we're the most fun. And that just really worked for us.
I, I think the only big company that comes to mind that nails social better than anyone is Wendy's.
Yeah,
If you've ever gotten bored and taken a look at their Twitter or X account, whatever,
they're good.
they like to have some fun. Very snarky, love it. But I would agree. I would say almost nobody in the software space that is large can shake the persona of we're big, stuffy, and boring. I don't care if you're talking about Salesforce, even HubSpot's headed that direction as much as they're trying not
Big
to.
time. Yeah.
I think everyone loses their brand voice after a while, trying to make everyone happy, and then therefore you become too vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
Identity, what we do is creepy, right? Let's call it a spade a spade. We de-anonymize web traffic. I think somewhere on our site, our homepage, it literally says it's creepy, but it works. Like put some personality in and just call it out. So, okay. So I appreciate you answering that question. My last topic I want to go through with you is how did you become a top digital marketing voice on LinkedIn when every marketer, including me, wants to be a thought leader, somebody to look up to, put the most insightful content out there? You have people that post 8 to 12 times a day. If you listen to Gary Vee for 2 seconds, he's going to say you should post every 10 minutes. You were telling me before that you post 3 times a week. So
Yeah.
what is different about you and your content that stuck out to the massive network of LinkedIn?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It really happened by accident. I didn't realize it was happening until it just popped up and said, "Hey, you've earned this badge." And I was like, "Oh, a badge, that's neat," but I didn't even realize what it was at the time. But what I was doing is I was posting about three days a week, like you were saying. Some weeks it was once a week. It was not that much. But I started contributing to a lot of articles, and that made a really big difference, I think. I started contributing to these articles. I started talking about very specifically about B2B marketing. And what happens is when you start really focusing in on that niche, and especially when you're contributing to articles, it starts to, I don't know the right word for it, but it starts to rank you basically within LinkedIn in the background when you're contributing to all these different things. And so once you've done that for 3 or 4 weeks, LinkedIn will pop up with a little thing when you go to contribute to articles again, and it'll say, hey, if you keep contributing to this, you will be considered for a badge in this area. Now
Yep.
it's different for every single one, so like for marketing, I had to do it consistently for about 2-3 months before I was able to get a badge. And I had to contribute to probably about 30-40 different articles. So it's not nothing. There's definitely an investment in it. But if you're willing to do that hard work, and you have to continue to post and things like that to make sure that you keep the badge, but if you're willing to do that kind of work, you can definitely get a badge and you can be recognized on LinkedIn.
So you're talking, and I'm actually looking at LinkedIn right now. I swear. So you're talking about the LinkedIn articles where you press contribute experience right on your homepage, right? I swear that went away for the last like 3-4 weeks on my LinkedIn page, and I literally just pulled it up to check, and it's back.
Yeah.
Did you experience the same thing?
The funny thing is I always have a hard time finding it in LinkedIn because they don't make it intuitive. And so what
No.
I have to do is I have to go to Google and say contribute to a LinkedIn article, and then it'll pull up the
Oh.
website I click through and then I find it. But even now, like there's no button on my LinkedIn interface that tells me, hey, click here and you can contribute to articles. I have to actually do it in a roundabout way to do it.
So now when you're on your homepage, I'm looking at it right now.
Mhm.
It does pop up right next to, start a post or draft with AI, media, contribute
Mhm.
experience, and then write an article. I swear it went away for the last month. I couldn't find it because I was building up my reputation in marketing analytics, and then it just went bye-bye.
It's
That's
very possible.
interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm seeing it as the network is down.
Huh. I'm going to
Nope.
actually see if I can pull it up for you right now because,
It worked or it didn't work a second ago. It looks like it kicked in now.
okay. I'm gonna pull it up right now. So hopefully you can't hear my clacky keyword too much, but we're gonna see if we can actually find it here.
Like for a while, I was, I think, top 10% in marketing
Oh
analytics,
wow. Yeah.
um, 10 or 11%. And now I think I'm probably going to have to start back from zero because it's been a month.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably will. I think there's a way that you can access it, but this is why I mean it. It's just so confusing the way that they do this.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
terrible.
it's really bad. If I go here and I click on my name,
It's not the most intuitive. You would think Microsoft and LinkedIn would make it much more friendly.
yeah, you certainly would. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and find it for you, but because right now, as I'm looking at it, I'm having trouble finding it. Wait, right here. I found it. Yes. Okay. So the way that I find it is I go to my profile. All right. You click on your profile and then let's see here under analytics and tools. Once you open that, you're going to
Yeah.
see your detailed analytics. If you scroll down, it'll say start a post, comment on feed, add contribution. If you click that add contribution, that's what I'm talking about when you're actually contributing to collaborative articles on LinkedIn.
So what the hell is going on? Because it says I have zero contributions when I have a couple dozen. It's almost, I swear, it's almost like they reset the account.
That is bizarre. Yeah. Now, is it just talking about the week though, or is it talking about all time?
Okay, hold on. Hold
I
on.
think that's probably it. Yeah.
You know what? September 30th through October 6th. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's awesome. So the way that you got the brand voice or top digital marketing voice was through the collaborative articles. Now, have you seen a spike in your post engagement or anything like that since you've received that badge, or is it just a nice badge that looks pretty?
I think it's nice to have, but I do think that the algorithm favors it in a lot of ways.
Okay.
I don't have a huge following. That's not been necessarily my goal, but I've started doing that with another tool I can tell you about sometime that kind of automates your LinkedIn growth. So that's not necessarily been my goal. I have seen though that there is quite a bit more engagement than before. I would get maybe like one or two likes
Sure.
before I had a badge. And I don't know if it's a combination of posting consistently so that I'm in front of people and the badge. I like to think it's that, but yeah, it's definitely helping for sure.
Got it. No, makes perfect sense, man. Look, we've talked about a lot. We talked about conversational AI. We talked about applying it to B2B, a little bit about communities, LinkedIn brand, etc. Joshua, I think this is very insightful for a lot of people, including myself. Gives me some ideas around conversational AI, even for my own company. So super helpful. Love having you on. Any last thoughts, comments, anything that you want to share with the average CMO, head of marketing, etc., that might be listening?
I don't necessarily think so. I just want to say thanks so much for having me on. I had a great time and looking forward to connecting in the future. So
If people want to chat with you, what's the best way to do that? LinkedIn?
yeah, absolutely. Go find me on LinkedIn. Look me up. My name is fairly generic, but maybe I can send you a link, and you could maybe add it to the description or something if people want to find me.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Bye bye.